Welcome everyone to the Drons Lair Podcast. I am the Blue Dragoon himself, Daniel the Dragon. With me once again is the incomparable family man himself, James Haynes.
Hello everybody.
And today we've got a packed show for you guys, so you're going to get to hear our thoughts on the finale of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But we're also going to be talking about the latest season of Invincible, the finale of Cobra Kai, and we're going to be talking about the movie from 1984, Red Dawn.
Yes.
The original, not the remake from 2012.
Not the Chris Hemsworth version.
No. So we're going to be talking the Patrick Swayze one. So we're going to be discussing all of that and more on the latest episode of the Drons Lair Podcast. So let's jump right in, everybody. So now let's get started on... We're going to start off simple. We had Captain America Brave New World came out this February.
How was it?
I saw it in the theaters. It was a good movie. Now, it's very different from some of the other ones, and I think it's taken some harsh criticisms. Now, Sam Wilson is a completely different Captain America. Mm-hmm. This isn't a guy who has the super soldier serum,
Nope.
but he started off as, in the MCU, as a therapist. So he was talking to, like, veterans and stuff. So he's going to have a different approach to everything. Now, do I feel like some of the things they kept behind the scenes, because we knew... And I watched somebody's video where they were saying, we need to stop watching trailers. And I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a teaser trailer to find out if you want to see something, but the trailers are giving too much away. Now, Captain America's suit, we all saw it after the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, seeing that Sam Wilson's Captain America, it was from Wakanda, so you know it's got vibranium, so it's going to have some good power-ups. But his fighting style is going to be very different, so he's going to talk more. He's going to try to relate to people. And you know what? Somebody said it, and I have to agree with them. It might have been Straw Hat Goofy who said that it's like Sam Wilson's Captain America does everything slower Gesundheit, than the Chris Evans Captain America. Because old school Cap would go in, rushing in and attacking, but he was a super soldier. Sam Wilson's doing the exact same stuff, the same kind of stories, but he's doing it from a different perspective. And as a hero, I like Sam Wilson as Captain America. The movie is not the best movie because you're rehashing a lot of things, but I think it's a great starting point for re-upping the MCU.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like the fact that you have people that were getting upset online over the fact that it's like, well, it's not Captain America. Sam Wilson was Captain America in the comics. He was handed off the shield in the MCU the same way he was handed off the shield in the comics. So there is nothing wrong with that. This is how the progression is, and that's a legacy character. So he's only using the name, but it's become a different style of Captain America. So, and it's a good jumping off point to show that we're going to need a new version of the Avengers. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff from Phase 4 isn't going to pay off because of changes and things that they made, which I feel I feel like Disney rushed a lot of stuff. Because rushing through and canceling, we don't have an Eternals 2. But Eternals plays a big part in this because of the island that is the Celestial.
And I mean, it also played a part in She-Hulk.
Yeah, but they do call it the Celestial Island. So they call it Celestial Island in the movie. And She-Hulk, it's a small reference on like a website. So it's not the same thing. But... you know, you had in all the Marvel series and even in the Marvels, they went and they were recruiting young Avengers. Yeah. You were already setting up the young Avengers, which I hope they do not abandon those characters because I want to see Kate Bishop back.
I want to see another season of Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I want to see Kamala Khan back. I would love to see Tatiana Maslany come back as She-Hulk in the act as an Avenger because... we've still got the Thunderbolts to see, but there were a lot of end credit stuff that isn't paying off, and now we have an end credit scene that seems to be setting up for Secret Wars and everything.
Yep.
So we're going to see how this all plays out.
One thing that I also like to see, they brought out Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel in the past 10, 15 years has been one of the most popular characters. Another one that should also be out there is Squirrel Girl.
Well,
they have not even touched on that yet.
Well,
either.
Squirrel Girl was touched on in the animated Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man. They brought in the Invincible Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to see her like right now, only because of the fact that Squirrel Girl is invincible, basically. She's beaten like some of the biggest guys, and she's just Squirrel Girl. So she's a fun character, but I don't think we're at that level of you want to see someone that ridiculous.
Well, they'll bring her down the line and even put her into the animated world.
Yeah, well, now speaking of that, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man just finished.
Yes.
So
they did a 2-3-2.
Yeah, which I was expecting them to stretch it out a little longer, so I wasn't expecting us to discuss it this soon. But like we said last time, I like the animation style. I like what they've done with the characters. They've shown different sides. There's been some characters that we didn't see. And I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't watched it yet, but I recommend this.
Yes.
This is a good jumping off point because it's an alternate universe for the MCU almost, because it takes place in a timeline where some of the events parallel, only instead of having Tony Stark, you've got Norman Osborn.
Yep.
So seeing like Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn in there interacting with Spider-Man, but having Nico, who's a character from The Runaways, which I feel was a show that should have gotten more love. But that was a Hulu show.
Introducing us to Amadeus Cho pre-Hulk.
Yeah. Now, which I like, but this is where, like I said, I want to see Tatiana Maslany back, have her as an Avenger, not there with the Hulk, but as a replacement for the Hulk, because let's face it, there's a point where, you know what, we've seen the Hulk, and until Universal is willing to give us a straight up Hulk on its own and give it back to the MCU, or we get a full-fledged Hulk movie, She-Hulk is a great replacement.
Yeah.
And she's just as powerful, she's just as smart, and she's just smart in a different way. And she gives us that fun little element because she breaks the fourth wall. So I like that. This Spider-Man, though, I didn't like the fact that they didn't have, once again, there was no Uncle Ben. They mention him.
Yes.
You know, you kind of see a reference that it was Uncle Ben's camera Peter's playing with. So they still haven't gotten to the Daily Bugle, Spider-Man taking photos of himself and everything.
But did you see where May went?
Oh yeah. I don't want to spoil it.
That's a very good twist.
But they did bring in several other Marvel heroes, and they didn't play too much of a role, except for Doctor Strange, who's in the first episode, which we do get to see where that all starts from.
Doctor Strange, Daredevil, and you had Spider-Man.
No, there was also an Iron Man.
Oh yeah. Oh, excuse me. The Ross's robot cop as Doc Ock.
Yeah,
would say.
But that's the thing. I love I love the look of Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
And it's pre-tentacles.
Yes.
So before the mechanical arms, he looks just like he came out of the comic books. That's something that I like, is the art style looks like it's straight ripped out of the comic books. And that to me was something that I feel has been lacking since probably the 90s Spider-Man, the cartoon series.
Which was amazing.
Yeah. Because Spider-Man Unlimited, I did not really care for, sending him to another world.
No, I never got to really fully get
it was barely a season. It wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't terrible, but they could have gone back in. It's like they show you Peter and Mary Jane, but they left off the Spider-Man 90s animated series where he was going to look for Mary Jane throughout the multiverse, but we never saw her. So this is one of those things where they're changing the background with the characters. They're showing a little bit of different things, but they are taking more elements from the comics. So I'm looking forward to seeing season 2.
Yeah.
And I will say that because it's an animated MCU, we do get a glimpse where you can tell that the Watcher is watching.
Oh, yes.
So we did see at least that Uatu is. So this will, you can tell this is going to be part of like Marvel's animated universe. Yes. So this should be a nice, interesting thing. Now, like I said, you know, there was controversy behind it. The kid who doing the voice for Spider-Man wasn't bad, but I feel like they could have gotten a better voice and they could have had the portrayal because he wasn't quippy. He didn't do the, like, I felt like it had the lacking of the one thing that was missing.
He wasn't a C.D. Barnes. He wasn't an Ian Ziering. And he wasn't even Tom Holland or...
Well, Ian Ziering played Harry.
Oh, he played... Okay.
Neil Patrick Harris was Spider-Man for the MTV one. But you have to realize, the one failing from the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies was Spider-Man wasn't quippy. He wasn't throwing out those jabs. That was one thing that I loved more about the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies. He was funny. He was willing to like crack jokes, try to disarm his enemies by giving them a bunch of jokes and throwing them off their game. That was an important element to the character that I feel was lost and I feel isn't there. Tom Holland does the quipping stuff, says some funny stuff. He's not overly leaning into it.
A bike?
Yeah. But at the same time, this one, it's not the same. So the portrayal of Spider-Man, while I love almost everything about the show, I love the way the characters that they chose, the art style. My biggest complaint is the character of Spider-Man and also the lack of with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
We see a different take on it.
Respect.
And it shows a different side.
Yeah.
But seeing some of the early villains and new takes on them, I think the show is definitely worth watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do for season 2. I was actually hoping they would have done more than a 10-episode run. But unfortunately, this is what it seems like the new seasons have become, where they're shorter runs. Now,
this way you give you a good sense of grab. They're giving the streaming audience, they're getting their opinions and everything.
Yep.
That's what you got to do with stuff. I mean, the next thing I'm waiting on animation is for Amazon to bring back the Batman.
Oh, the Cape Crusader?
Cape Crusader. I want to see how season 2 is.
That's if we even get it.
I hope so.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. But if you have any opinions on your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man,
What's the email?
You can email us at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. Now, because we don't have any real wrestling content, though, and I haven't brought up any anime because we have a lot of animation going on in this one, I have a little combo for you. Netflix is on its 2nd season of Kinnikuman. Now, most people may not know what Kinnikuman is because the series isn't dubbed, so it's only subtitled.
Oh, okay.
But Kinnikuman was an older series where it featured intergalactic wrestling. And you had Planet Kinniku, which gave us King Muscle. And in the 90s, we had the small, even in the 80s, they had the small little like figures, the muscle figures.
Yes, the muscle figures.
Yeah, that is part of that universe. And in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, if you remember on Fox Kids, they gave us Ultimate Muscle.
Yes.
Ultimate Muscle is King Muscle's son. And so there's a goofy element to it, but the wrestlers for the Intergalactic Wrestling Federation and stuff in Kinnikuman is actually really funny because the characters have like different little like abilities. There's one character who's Spring Man. He's literally a giant spring with arms and legs. You know, you have you have different like people from different countries, but then you have them coming from other like planets, different areas of the universe. And King Muscle is a masked wrestler, and he uses the Kinniku Buster, which basically translates to butt bomb. So if you're a wrestling fan and an anime fan, you know, I know it. If you're a dub only person, you may not want to watch this. I do both, and I'm not going to argue which is better, but Kinnikuman is worth watching because I did love Ultimate Muscle back in the 90s because it was stupid. There was funny jokes in there. You know, you have like the human wrestlers, but their spirit gives them the ability, and they're taking on, and they're fighting in death matches. But like you'll have a death match where the ring is suspended over a gorge. So you have a giant canyon. Each 4 of the pillars of the corners are tied with like chains to the sides of the mountain. Not only that, but then you'll have like, they have a match where it's taking place and the ring is on the water. And you have like Atlantis and like somebody who like fighting where he goes in the water and he will fight you underwater and he's stronger underwater. So there are so many different wrestlers in this from all over, and there's like 3 different factions and they're all fighting for power. Kinnikuman is a fun wrestling show, so it's like I would definitely say like for the kids, and parents could sit there and watch it with them because of the fact that some of the jokes are completely ridiculous. And I'm hoping that when they get through Kinnikuman, we do get a new version of Ultimate Muscle. Because part of Ultimate Muscle's problem was it was during the 4Kids era where they changed up a lot of anime. They changed elements to it. They made jokes. They changed characters' names because they didn't think we'd understand it. Because even in the original Pokemon series, they went and they called rice balls jelly donuts. You can tell that they're rice balls or onigiri, but they're calling them jelly donuts. I love these jelly donuts. They're not jelly donuts.
They're rice balls.
Yeah. So
one thing I'll recommend everybody that has, if you have Netflix, since you're watching Raw on Netflix, go back if you are an old school wrestling fan and watch the Raw Classics hosted by Big E. There are 10 episodes so far. I've watched the first 2. Watching Stone Cold brought back a lot of great memories of the Attitude Era, especially, and everything, and it showed the great rivalries he had.
Yeah.
So if you got a shot, watch the Raw Classics hosted by Big E.
And before we move on, I do want to say Big E was phenomenal as Bulldozer, doing the voice in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
And he used his full, regular, non-wrestling name.
You figure Big E is his trademark WWE name. So unlike John Cena, who WWE owns his legal name, Big E is going to use his real name. The same way AJ Lee can go out and do her thing because her actual name is AJ Mendez.
Yes.
So she's using her real name. So they didn't trademark that. They don't owe to give back to WWE everything the way John Cena owes part of his money, whatever he makes, because his name is trademarked. Which is weird that you trademarked your legal name.
Well, it's even funny as you know that Hulk Hogan, he has to give money to Marvel.
Yes, and in all honesty, I wish Marvel would tell him he needs to stop using the name entirely.
Yeah.
Especially after being booed out of the arena during the Raw premiere on Netflix.
Even The Undertaker laughed at that. But let's move on to some really good stuff.
Now let's talk about Invincible on Amazon Prime. They're on season 3. The recaps really help to refresh your memory because we've had a gap in between. Now, Amazon's done a great job with Invincible. Now, I know there's been some changes between the comics and the animated series, but they're not terrible changes.
No.
You know, changing like Shrinking Ray, who in the comics was a guy, making him into a woman now. And they've done a great job with these characters. They're going through a real gamut of emotions with these characters. And I do have to say, I do love that after you focus on one of the main stories, right during the credits, they usually give you either a side story or some little tidbit for something else that's going on.
Oh, unlike one of the episodes, they're like, we'll leave Eve and Invincible, and we will go to outer space.
Yeah, because we're not going to focus on Invincible getting laid. We're going to we're going to go and we'll check out Omni-Man and Alan the Alien while they're locked up in the Viltrumite prison.
Yes.
So they're doing a lot of good stuff. I love the animation, and the voice cast for Invincible is really going all out. J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man is phenomenal.
He's always been phenomenal at anything he does. That's why he's got a baldy.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. Every actor in this series is putting everything into these like performances. Gillian Jacobs doing the voice of Adam Eve. She's doing such a great job, and every time I hear her voice, it makes me want to see the Community movie. I want it to come out more and more.
Margaret Cho, every time I see that, I hear her name.
Who?
Isn't Margaret Cho the mother?
No.
Oh, Sandra Oh.
Sandra Oh.
Excuse me on that one.
Just like, what is it? Stephen Yeun is the voice of Invincible. Glenn from The Walking Dead.
And Sholo makes an appearance
Sholo.
as the twins.
Yeah, Sholo's voicing two characters from Cobra Kai, so it's like...
yeah, and it's how you meet the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
What they do. It's like, yeah, we'll give you back what we stole, but you got to help us.
Yeah.
Really?
But when you find out why they stole it, it's like what they stole and the reason behind it is hilarious.
Yes.
The voice acting for this show has been great. Season 3 is on par to be up there with a great series. And if you're not looking for something animated off of Amazon, Reacher Season 3 just dropped. I still have to go back and watch Season 2 because I watched Season 1. Alan Richardson is amazing. Love that guy. Loved him since Smallville, seeing him as Aquaman. Mm-hmm. And this is just like, it's great to see another season with him. Now,
and he was also Hawk in the Titans.
Yeah, for the group of Hawk and Dove.
Yes.
So he's been in, and he was Raphael in the Ninja Turtles movies from Michael Bay.
Yes.
So he's got a great comic book history in there, and a great talent, and a spokesman for mental advocacy and stuff. So, really, like, there's a lot of great stuff. Now, we do want to move on to make sure, because we're under a time crunch, to make sure we get everything in this episode, because there was more stuff than we planned on discussing, because it's been a bombshell when it comes to a lot of content that's dropped this month alone.
Also, one thing I got to have you watch, I don't know if you've watched it yet. I know you don't watch the award shows, but BAFTA, David Tennant hosted BAFTA.
I saw David Tennant's saying
500 miles?
Yep.
Oh my God, how funny was that?
I love David Tennant.
Yes.
He is my absolute favorite of all the doctors for Doctor Who.
And Matt Smith are my favorites.
Now, I do have to say something to put it out there when it comes to Doctor Who. I am not happy with the controversy of these morons online complaining that Doctor Who is too woke, because we're supposed to get another season with Ncuti Gatwin, and Ncuti may not be coming back after season 2. Because we may need to see the backlash. People are coming after this guy. Now, Ncuti Gatwin has done a phenomenal job for his season that he's done.
That was amazing.
He has done a great job. And to sit there and say that Doctor Who is too woke, first off, I'm tired of the excuse about because there's diversity in things and inclusion. These are not woke ideas. This is just, there's representation. You know what's funny? There was a lot of people that were saying they wanted to see like Idris Elba as the Doctor. I would have been fine with that. I love Idris Elba. But when I see Idris Elba, I'm also thinking Luther. And Luther is a phenomenal show, which I believe is on Netflix.
Yes.
It's about 5 very short seasons and a movie.
Yeah, it's an amazing show.
Absolutely amazing. And Idris Elba is a phenomenal actor.
And he's also considered in the Bond lottery, which also this week.
Although he did say he doesn't want it now because of like controversy, because you've got people bitching and complaining.
Well,
look,
they just Amazon MGM just fully got the rights and everything to it because Barbara Broccoli, whose father is the big reason that James Bond went from Connery to where we are now.
Yeah.
And Daniel Craig, and let me tell you something. It's still it is one of still phenomenal
Listen,
of pop culture.
There is a Bond for everyone.
Yes.
The same way there is a Doctor Who for everyone.
Exactly. Even Joni, Whittaker is a freaking Doctor Who for everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Too.
Doctor Who is an alien. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say this now because I want people to understand this is absolutely the stupidest controversies that they're bringing up.
Thank you.
Because actors portraying parts, they're doing their job, and the stories that the writers are telling, there's a reason why those stories are being told, because of relevancy for stuff. Oh, people were upset because the specials on Disney Plus, Donna's daughter is trans. Who cares? Listen, Doctor Who has an alien with two hearts who can regenerate into other people when he goes and dies. So as he's dying, he can become somebody else. That to me is the equivalent of every Superman fan that is bitching and moaning about immigrants, migrants, everything, when you can't tell me you love Superman and be against people coming to another country for a better life, all because of one simple reason. And I hate getting political, but I have no choice on this one because it's a simple fact. When you look at the character of Superman,
truth, justice in the American way.
No, that was put in later on.
That's true.
But it was always truth and justice. Mm-hmm. But he is the ultimate migrant. Mm-hmm. He was sent here illegally from his parents from another planet. He didn't come through with proper papers. Hell, even if you look at Smallville, what did they do? Jonathan and Martha Kent went and had forged documents that they got the Luthers to help them do so that this way they could have Clark and it looks legal. But Superman is the most illegal immigrant and is out there doing good.
Here's another one that people you'll be intrigued with. Green Lantern's an immigrant to Oa.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, they're all immigrants, and it's the most diverse police force in the universe because you have cops from every different species. Although, for some reason, Earth somehow gets 6, 7, 8 different Green Lanterns. So
I know.
But but wait, here's the thing. If you're a Superman fan and you hate immigrants, you're rooting for billionaires, you are not a Superman fan.
No.
You are a Lex Luthor fan. Because even Batman, who is a billionaire, he does what he can to help rebuild Gotham and make it a better city. But what else does he do? He fights crime at night, so he's defending his city. But he's an ethical billionaire. But we don't know what he's doing to get all the money.
Exactly.
Let's face it, he's committing illegal acts himself. But Superman is out there in the light of day, and it is the ultimate immigrant story. It is the ultimate immigrant story who was created by who? 2 Jewish immigrants themselves. So you have
Siegel and Schuster.
Yeah. So you have 2 Jewish kids who created Superman, the ultimate immigrant, and it is a power fantasy above it and itself. Everybody who has a problem right now with things that are going on and talking about stories being woke, Superman has always been. Every superhero story has an element because they're fighting for the little guy. You can't be against the little guy and say that I'm a Superman fan. No, you want his powers. You want his abilities. You are Lex Luthor, who is envious of Superman.
You're jealous.
That's all it is.
Now the one thing I want to see next, you spoke about all this woke and everything. I'm waiting to see towards the end of the year, because you know what's coming. Simon Williams, Wonder Man. they made him black.
Yeah.
I want to hear what everybody's going to say, because I remember him being a superstar white American person, and now they're making him African American.
Listen, there were rumors that they want to change Magneto to an African American. And you know what? I only have a problem with that because the story with Magneto
is 60 years old.
60 years old, and yes, originally he wasn't a Holocaust survivor, but the Holocaust survivor element that has been put into his backstory,
very important to history.
it is a part of who Magneto is.
Exactly.
Why he fights for mutant rights so hard. So you can't tell me that it's like, oh, everything's woke. No. It's not woke. They're important stories. You can take the Bible as a prime example of a series of morality tales where you can take good and bad elements from it, but it's not history. You don't grab a comic book to say, oh, look, in this day in history, Spider-Man defeated the Green Goblin, but in doing so, Captain Stacy lost his life. That didn't happen in the real world. It's a comic. Mm-hmm. People need to find the morality stories and try to actually empathize with what's going on. There's a reason why stories transcend time. That's one of the reasons why I love doing this show, is we can talk about these stories. But I hate when people want to bring up controversy to make something up. Shooty Gatwin, and I want to give him my ultimate support, because he doesn't have to be my favorite, because I love David Tennant.
Yeah.
But he crossed over from Tennant when Tennant came back. And this is the thing. Shooty Gatwin had probably one of the funnest seasons that came out, and because it's part of a Disney-backed BBC Doctor Who. They're talking about shelving Doctor Who for like 5 to 10 years. And I don't want to see Doctor Who shelved like this again. Granted, Doctor Who has had its ups, its downs, its lulls, but what are you going to do? You're going to change the Doctor over for what, 10 years? You get rid, and then all of a sudden we're going to have the same issue that we had from the movie, where the movie left off, and it's like we had an American-made movie, and then next thing you know, what was it? It was Christopher Eccleston came back as the Doctor for 2005, which I liked Christopher Eccleston. Yeah. I wish there would have been less controversy with him and stuff going on with the people behind the scenes, where we could have gotten another season with Eccleston. Mm-hmm. But we didn't.
No.
But there is such a universe of characters when you're going outside of Earth. We're in the sci-fi realm, in the fantasy realm. Stop complaining that things are woke when they're stories that are so relevant to everyone's lives. Something that relates to people. There's a little girl with the video that was going around that she went and she has like a birthmark on her face that's on half of her face. She went and she found one of the characters from My Hero Academia, Todoroki, where in the story, his mother went and had a breakdown because of abuse and stuff. She went and she threw a pot of hot water in his face, and he has a scar on part of his face, so he has a red burn on there. This little girl saw a character that gave a representation to her, and she loves this character. And people have been nothing but nice to this sweet, adorable child who she has a birthmark on her face. And it's like she found a character that she could relate to. Mm-hmm. We all look for a character that we could relate to. We all want to sit there and say, oh, I'm Batman, I'm Superman. You're not. Because you're not standing up there and you're not fighting for everyone. You're not sitting there giving all of your money away to charities and helping people. We're looking for low-level characters that we have something that we click with. Whether it's an appearance thing, whether it's a disability, whether it's a struggle. We can all relate, not to Spider-Man, but to Peter Parker, because he's always struggling. He's trying to pay his bills. He's trying to take care of his aunt and live his life. This is just one of those things where it just aggravates me when people want to sit there and complain about the stories, meanwhile not looking at what the meaning is behind them. Don't throw out words like woke for something that is more impactful because of the story. You look, and I'm going to use Captain America Brave New World as an example. Sam Wilson is the new Captain America. He is dealing with other problems that it's not the same. They're similar to what Captain America that we know as Steve Rogers would deal with, but he's dealing with them in a different way. You know, you've got people who are trying to do better, but you need someone who's going to help guide you in that direction. You can't sit there and say it. Thunderbolt Ross is a character that he's become the Red Hulk. There's different reasons than from the comics, but, and this is not giving spoilers because we've seen the trailer, we know Red Hulk is there. But Thunderbolt Ross has been a background character. You're giving a lot of background to a character that we don't care about as much unless you're a comic book fan and you know more about him. And you know more about the struggles of him constantly doing a bunch of screwed up stuff because he was on the ever constant hunt for the Hulk. But this is a character who's trying to be better. And yet you don't want to take someone trying to be better as a good thing. Captain America Brave New World is a good movie and doesn't deserve the shit it was been getting. I'm sorry. I hate getting on the soapbox like this.
Go right ahead.
But
There's
you know what?
nothing wrong with soapboxes.
Yeah, but you know what? I want to move on and get to something like that we can all like enjoy. And let's talk about Cobra Kai.
Yes.
Now,
Where shall we start? Where would I love to start?
I want to
with
know
this?
where you want to start with this one because I've said a lot. So
I'm going to tell you this.
go ahead, because five episodes of a total of 15 episodes for season 6.
Let me tell you something. These 5 episodes, I watched 2, then I watched the 3. And let me tell you something.
Oh, I went and binged. The day it came out, I didn't move.
I'll tell you this. Okay, well, I had a lot of other things I've been watching too. So, but I'm going to tell you this. You look at what the last episode was, and then you gel everything together from season 1, episode 1 to season 6, episode 15. And what do you get out of it? You get a full circle. You get a full life-changing experience circle of how Johnny decides, you know what? He's been this loser and everything. He's been this degenerate. But what happens? This degenerate, little by little by little, starts to build his life up. And then he gets all these students to help him. Miguel. He gets Miss Nichols. He gets his son. He gets in arguments and heated rivalries with. But he gets back with him by the end. And he brings a full circle of a family that he didn't have.
Yep.
Back to normal. He brings Cobra Kai, which basically, let me tell you, if you look at the show, everything was always like Miyagi-Do. Wait a minute here. I respect it was Miyagi-Do, but remember one thing. This was Johnny's show. This is Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is now trying to be something that it should have been years ago, even before after Kobe had it. It should have been at least a disciplinary, decent, wholehearted karate dojo. Not out to beat the shit out of kids, teach kids how to bully, teach kids to do the wrong things. And you want to know something? Everybody learned their lesson. Everything came full circle to people. And in the end, life became happy and everything. One thing that also amazed me was, if you caught it in one of the dream sequences there, the CGI, AI, whatever you want to call it, of Noriaki Pat Marie, which it wasn't. It actually made me laugh looking at this, but at least he had the voice. But at least he did one thing. He taught him, listen, don't get rid of all your skeletons. Help people around you get rid of all their demons. Let's get back to normalcy here. Which by the end of that show, it did. And I was very pleased with that, because you seen everybody's trying to be this bully and this big, they're showing their chest out and everything. Yeah, okay. Guess what? In the words of Nichols, welcome to the valley, bitch. And that made me feel good.
Which I have to say, I like Zara. I know she's a legit martial artist. She didn't get a lot of acting time, but what she did do, I want to see more stuff with her. But it was so cool to see, because now calling Nichols the Tooth Fairy,
I like that.
That's the equivalent of like what you would call a hockey player for knocking people's teeth out. It's like, and that's the thing. Cobra Kai really did, in this final season, it went 100% full circle. You figure going back all the way to the Karate Kid, the original. Now, a lot of people had speculations that we were going to see, like, the next Karate Kid was going to be in there.
Yeah, Hillary.
We were going to see Hillary Swank. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
They stuck to just the Daniel Miyagi trilogy and not going outside, because there really wasn't a lot other than Miyagi going off and helping for the next Karate Kid. Now, it not only went full circle, but we saw the redemption of Johnny. But it wasn't just the redemption. You saw, like, two people who were rivals in high school were able to put their issues aside.
All the rivals in high school, basically, even both past and present.
And there are ways that we can all get along and put things aside when there's a good reason. And that was something that was shown in there. Johnny had so many opportunities, and it showed. It was the equivalent of Alcoholics Anonymous, where someone's going to have a slip up. Johnny made mistakes, but what did he do? He picked himself up, and sometimes he couldn't pick himself up. His own enemies, Daniel helps pick him up, gave him a job, but then doesn't even just help give him a job, says, you know what, here's a dojo. I'm going to give you, help to get you the dojo where you started. You can do this on your own now. It would have been nice if they would have been able to get like the corner dojo that they had from the original Karate Kid, but it's still one of those things where you saw, and it was also still kept the Karate Kid's experience about balance. Where Daniel was trying to find balance, you saw Daniel was slipping up constantly. And I gotta say, it's like, not just him slipping up, his kids made mistakes. Johnny's kids made mistakes, but they weren't all Johnny's kids. They were the students. People make mistakes, but it's how you deal with them. And that was like an important message behind the show, where it's no matter what you're facing, it's how you deal with it.
Picking yourself back up, and brushing yourself off and moving forward instead of reverse. But
also having people that you know you can depend on. Because let's face it, by these last 5 episodes, they went, and Tori wasn't even going to compete. And what did they do? They were able to get her back. She was able to compete, and it was all because Daniel's daughter. And the funny thing is, what most people didn't know is Machio's actual daughter
was her cousin.
Yeah, playing the cousin in the show.
Did you notice who they also try to set him up with?
Oh, yeah.
And she does the tarot card reading.
Oh, yeah. I love the fact that they tried to go and fix up Chosen with Elizabeth
Berkley. And then who do you see who we ended up with? That was good.
Oh, yeah.
And then because she learned from her fault, like, you know what, you're freaking bullying me. I'm sick of you bullying me.
But between that, Kreese learning a lesson, like, everybody went off. The only person who didn't learn anything, Silver.
Oh, yeah, he learned it. He learned death.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But no, like, 6 seasons of Cobra Kai added with the Karate Kid first 3 movies. This was a great all-around experience.
Yes.
And I didn't have to go back and watch the Karate Kid movies over, but I'm glad that it was the Miyagi trilogy. And I think the upcoming movie is going to be this is my prediction, that the Karate Kid Legacy movie is going to be like the final installment where it's going to give full closure, because Daniel got some closure from things, and the Pat
With the
Morita like
pearls.
CGI and everything.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I love the way it looked. It looked like a dream sequence, but it looked more like something you would find out of a video game.
Yeah.
And I like that look to it, but it didn't fit.
No.
And I hate to say it because they did put a lot of money into the series.
Yeah.
And the fact that season 6 was 15 episodes and the last couple episodes were like 40 something minutes long, 40, 50 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved it. They gave us so much, but that one moment was like, it kind of takes you out because of the way that it was, of like putting Pat Morita's face on somebody else and like going through the motions, but having like all the kids in like the skeleton costumes, like attacking him. It felt like something you would find in a Karate Kid video game.
Yeah.
Or the old 80s cartoon show that took place, like what was it, late 80s, early 90s, when they did it, because it was like it was between the Karate Kid and the Karate Kid 2, or between 2 and 3. Short-lived cartoon series, but it all fit, and I love the way that it worked because they tied stuff together, but Johnny also learned balance. My only like one little tiny thing is I almost wish they could have gotten Elizabeth Shue to be in the audience at the end for like the finals of the Sekai Tekai, doing it in the valley, having her. It would have been nice to see her there.
Even what's his name? Even Steve. What's his name? The kid that he faced that they destroyed the furniture store.
Oh yeah,
They should have brought him back too.
Mike Barnes.
They should have brought Barnes to at least sit there.
Well, no, they had Mike Barnes earlier on in the season anyway, because he was helping prepare them for the Sekai Tekai. So you gotta, they really wrapped the whole thing. I just think like having Elizabeth Shue, if they could have gotten her to be in the audience sitting there, it would have been a great moment, especially because it was a great moment when Miguel is in the Cobra Kai uniform again to finish the Sekai Tekai, because all of the Miyagi-Do students were Cobra Kai.
Yes.
So they were able... They united under the Cobra Kai banner to stop the Iron Dragons. But when you see Miguel, and it's like, no, not this headband, and Johnny takes off his headband that he had gotten from Allie. If that would have been Allie there watching him do it, it would have meant even so much more. But it's still like every one of those episodes was really yanking on the heartstrings, because they jumped like months after the end of season 2, part 2, and they did a phenomenal job with this.
I still like Gunther going there. He's like, "Oh, you want to announce? All right, let's do it. Let's settle this the other way."
And he kicks him in the face.
Then he apologized, and everything. But still cracks me up is that's Wolf the Dennis Stenson from the Mighty Ducks 2.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to find, like, who is that? And like, oh shoot.
Yep. So now, if you're enjoying everything that we're discussing, you
Please
can
email us at
dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you send us all your questions, comments, concerns. Show us some love. If you're liking what we're doing, let us know.
Tell us how you listen to us.
Let us know how you're listening. Leave us likes, shares, reviews. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, the Blue Dragoon 13 YouTube channel. There are so many ways that you can continue on and support us, leaving us reviews, liking, follow us on our Facebook and Instagram page, but also on the YouTube channel. Make sure you leave us a like, a follow on each episode, like the episodes, share them with your friends. It helps get the word out about the show. It really means a lot to us, so that this way we can have these conversations with you guys. Now, I know I got on a soapbox and did a whole bunch of stuff that probably didn't need to be said, but it did go hand in hand with the controversy, because I've become a big Doctor Who fan. And a lot of people were pushing me to watch Doctor Who, especially when the 2005 reboot started. I've tried to watch Classic Who. it is not for me.
Not the same.
Because it's a completely different style, but since the 2005 reboot and on, I have been a faithful watcher of Doctor Who. I don't agree with everything that's gone on. I wasn't a fan of the Capaldi seasons.
Not too many people were. I agree with you on that. But I mean,
I liked Whittaker's seasons.
Yeah.
I didn't hate Matt Smith, but he wasn't David Tennant.
No.
And Shooty Gatwin, though, he grew on me very quickly. So I do not appreciate when people are talking down about an actor or a series where you're making the actors not want to be part of the show or the movies because they're backlash because you have a problem with something. Why don't you complain about the writing then? Tell me how bad the writing is for the show, because it's not the actor who's doing the stories.
It's the writing.
And if you've got an issue with the writing, then complain about the writers. But here's the thing. You can't complain about the writing because that's not what your complaint is. You have a complaint about something else, but you just can't narrow down what that complaint is. Now, I want to hit our main topic, the movie. This show's going to be a little longer than our normal because we had a lot to discuss. Mm-hmm. But we've been keeping them short. So Now, Red Dawn, 1984. I haven't watched this movie in years. I would say I probably haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, which I probably shouldn't have been watching it as a kid, mind you.
That's the first time I watched it when I was a kid, but I also caught it as an adult, as a teenager, as an adult, and I just recently watched it, and I never realized my wife never watched it and everything. I'm glad we got to watch it and everything during the week, and it was the way the story started and everything. It's amazing how it starts there.
But it starts off with words.
Yes.
So you're reading about how we're going into World War III. The countries are all divided. NATO has fallen apart. And Russia is using Cuba to come and invade the U.S. through Mexico.
After they've already conquered Nicaragua and El Salvador.
Yep. So there's a lot of craziness going on, taking us into this fictional World War III, which doesn't seem very fictional nowadays.
Nowadays, it doesn't seem fictional.
No, but when you look at it, the entire story, the funny thing is when I started rewatching it for the first time in all these years, I was like, wait a second, are they speaking Spanish? I thought this was supposed to be the Russians invading, and I forgot, wait, no, it's the Russians and the Cubans are in alliance together, and that's why there's the combination of the languages. But looking into the history of this movie, where you have a group of high school students who are hiding in the mountains when there's an attack from Russians that are dropping in from out of the sky, parachuting in and taking over this town. That they get out of there quickly enough, they're hiding in the mountains, and they're basically forming their own little mini resistance guerrilla group. It was so amazing, but when you look into the history behind it, there was no miniatures, no CGI. No. These were all practical effects that they were using. Not only that, it had a record for being one of the most violent movies, for having the amount of acts of violence. It was a record setter for that time, for the amount of acts of violence taking place in one film. Not only that...
I'm shocked. I thought RoboCop had it with that spike.
Well, the RoboCop was vicious, but not the amount of. So, and RoboCop might have dethroned it because RoboCop came out later.
Yes.
But at that time, in 1984, that was like a record holder for Red Dawn having that. Not only that, but Patrick Swayze had gotten frostbite while doing the movie and said it was so painful. Getting frostbite from going, it's like, Yeah. It not only that, it was also Charlie Sheen's first movie.
Leah Thompson's first movie.
Yep.
What do you call Gray's first?
Jennifer Grey. And then because Jennifer Grey being in Red Dawn with Charlie Sheen. She helped get Charlie Sheen the role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So,
and plus, then she did
Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze. And you could see
and
that.
You see Thomas Howell is in there.
Yeah, but you could also see, like, there was a little bit of chemistry on screen, which was why it did so well for Dirty Dancing further down, because you could see, like, Jennifer Grey kind of, like, squeezing the orange on top of Patrick Swayze's head as they're all eating. It was a very quiet scene. They had moments where it was like, it was very quiet and somber, but then it was like you had explosions of gunfire and everything, helicopters and planes like coming after them, tanks. It was even said like they did actual training to fire off the guns, so they learned how to do all the shooting and stuff to make it all look real. Not only that, but they were using actual Russian tanks at the time, and apparently it said, like, looking up on IMDb and like the trivia facts, that they actually called in like the government because they saw like these strange tanks, and the military was like the government people that came to investigate were actually happy that it was for a movie seeing Russian tanks.
Hey, but and if you look at it, it's even like for a war film, it was John Ford-esque because of the scenery.
Yep.
Which is amazing on that, which people forget. Or if they aren't inclined and tuned, you get a shot. Go to your Amazon, go to Netflix, type in John Ford and everything in your search, and look at his films, look at the westerns, and enjoy the scenery he used.
Oh yeah.
For these.
The scenery, the backgrounds,
yes.
The fact that they had an internment camp where they were keeping all of the parents.
Yeah.
They went into
the movie theater.
Yeah, but they went through the records to see who had weapons, knowing who they were registered firearms to, and that was how they controlled them, by knowing who has guns, what were they registered weapons to have, and where were those weapons. The fact that the weapons were gone, they went and they used it because they were saying they were aiding guerrillas. They gave them to the kids to survive on their own out in the wilderness, not realizing those kids were going to become guerrillas themselves. So, and that's the thing. It's fighting back against an invading army. And the funny thing is, it's also the Ukraine war. The Ukrainians at the beginning of the war used Red Dawn as like motivation because they sprayed Wolverines on a Russian tank. So, and they did that in the movie. So in the movie, you see Wolverines on the Russian tank. So like there are certain elements that are playing out in the real world. Now, we've got so many issues going on that this movie is extremely relevant today. It may not be in the same vein, but at the same time, we're dealing with issues of war and people at each other's throats fighting for different reasons. These things still play into effect, and there's a great reason to have people like that. Was one of the reasons why I wanted us to look at like a movie like this, and like last episode looking at John Carpenter's They Live. Mm-hmm. The themes that are in these movies can resonate so well to this day.
Yeah.
That
even if you look at also Invasion USA with Chuck Norris.
Yep.
And everything. It was the Cubans and the Russians invading Florida and everything. And even, I mean, the funny thing was that a one-man army beat the holy hell out of all of them.
Well, at that point, it was Chuck Norris, and that was a young Chuck Norris.
Yes.
So, you know, a young Chuck Norris, the lone wolf.
Yep.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like badass fight sequences. The war stuff, though, in Red Dawn, like the kids fighting guerrilla tactics and stuff. They have no training or anything, hunting on their own.
And then Powers Booth parachutes in.
Yeah.
They help him out, and he helps them out. Reciprocates.
And that's the thing. There is like, so it was so gritty. It felt real. there was raw, visceral emotion going on there. And that's something that you don't see in a lot of the movies nowadays. You know, you're not going to see that same level in Saving Private Ryan.
No.
But you will, but in Red Dawn and the remake, I don't really remember it as much because I watched it once, but I don't think it had the same gravitas as this one. If you'd like for us to discuss the remake from 2012,
please email us at
dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you look at all, this is one of the, it might not have been the kickoff, but it was also one of the, I mean, if you look at, back then, this was a Cold War movie.
Yep.
Back in the 80s, all you saw, like I said, Invasion USA, Rambo, all these movies, even Spies Like Us.
Not only that, but also you have Rocky IV.
Yes.
It was another Cold War thing.
Movie. That's what all these focused on back then and everything. I mean, there's one with Dean Norris where, I forget the name of the film, him and another student, they get drunk. They're in Germany, they cross over the Russian border, and they get arrested and put in camp because they're Americans. And it was all Cold War.
And that's the thing.
Issues.
There is so much to look at and lessons that we could learn from these movies, but to also see like how relevant they are to today. You know, I try to keep the show as fun as possible, as best we can do. You know, unfortunately, Mike's not with us this week.
Mike, we hope you're doing very well.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Now, we miss you. We wish you were here to join in on these wonderful discussions. However, since Mike is not here, we do still have to soldier on.
Yes.
And now, we don't have anything planned for our next episode, so I will be making an announcement for the movie and series that we will be watching within the coming week, so that this way you can keep tabs. And if you'd like to know where you can find that, it's very easy. You can either find it on the Facebook page. It might be on our Instagram page, depending on if Mike goes and shares it along, or you can find it on my Instagram page, Blue Dragoon 13.
You might find it on my Instagram page and threads, James H. the Fourth.
Or it could very well be on my TikTok account, Blue Dragoon 13.
Or mine at James0925, or even James Haynes the Fourth at Facebook.
Oh, we are really shilling today, folks.
Oh, we can even Snapchat it at SI0925. Give me a buzz. I'll share anything on this Drons Lair Podcast.
Yep. Now,
you need.
Now, one thing that I would like us to talk about, because I have to watch a recap because I recorded it. I didn't watch it yet. The 50th anniversary for Saturday Night Live.
But now I gotta interrupt you on it because
but that'll be for next episode. I'm saying.
But it's not only that. It's the 50th anniversary episode. It's the homecoming concert and the 4-part documentary that is also incorporated with this, which you can also see on that. No joke. You can learn why they needed more cowbell. Yes.
Well, in the meantime, though, on our next episode, one thing I can say that we will discuss is the 50th anniversary special for Saturday Night Live. I just need to play a little catch up because Cobra Kai, Invincible, Captain America, a lot of these things took up a lot of time. So, and I want to give you guys enough time. So if you've seen it, please email us at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. All one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. You can let me know what you thought of it. Tell me what your favorite sketch is. If there was a favorite song that was performed, let me know. I want to know what your thoughts are on that. And I do think I can say one movie just to lighten things up, because we've gotten a little dark throughout this current month of episodes.
And spring's coming.
Yeah, spring's coming. So you know what? I think we'll go with a movie off of Netflix. How about we do Kinda Pregnant with Amy Schumer?
Absolutely.
Right. So at least you'll know currently Kinda Pregnant in the 50th anniversary special of Saturday Night Live.
Or anything in between.
And there will be some other topics that we will make announcements and discuss. So you guys are prepared in advance.
And you know how to get in touch with us.
And James, how can everyone get in touch with you?
Just to rehash it again, I will say it on Snapchat, James SI0925, all lowercase. Instagram and Threads, James H_the4th. James Haynes the 4th on Facebook, TikTok, James0925, and Butterfly. What is it?
Blue Sky?
Blue Sky. Well, but it's got the butterfly thing. That's why. James925 there. Catch up with me there. See how I enjoy. Oh my. And his lovely little posts also.
Yep. And it's easy to find me, Blue Dragoon 13, because that is my name on just about every single platform. That would include Twitch, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. You can find me everywhere, and on my channel on YouTube, Blue Dragoon 13, where you can catch all the latest episodes of the Drons Lair Podcast 1 week after they come out on Spotify, which Spotify is the early access exclusive to see the episode's video version first on Spotify, where you can listen to the audio on Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, and iHeartRadio, and every other podcasting platform out there.
Just also a quick plug, reminder, We Are Family is still on Tubi, so you can catch up. If you haven't watched it yet, please catch up and enjoy me on Tubi.
And make sure you go and you follow us on all of our socials, including the Facebook page for the Drons Lair Podcast and the Drons Lair Podcast Instagram page. We appreciate each and every one of you when you guys sign up and when you comment on our posts. And if you are following me on Blue Sky, I do shit post a lot, and I do have some Teespring merchandise that is promoted on the stuff. I would highly like and ask if you guys would support the show by purchasing some of the merchandise there, because it would really help us out, keep the show going, and you can show your support by getting yourself some the Drons Lair Podcast merchandise that has the logo for the show, but you can also get some of my Rebellion line. I've got a kind of a mobster shirt.
Ticket?
There's a mobster shirt that's on there. There's a bit of a gangster shirt that I'm selling.
That's the ticket.
And so support that, show not Mario, but the other guy. Show him some love.
Oh, Luigi.
Yeah, no, I didn't say anything. I didn't say nothing. I didn't say anything, but show the modern day gangster some love. I have a few T-shirts and stuff that's there. I think mugs and stuff that I have listed. I really appreciate it. It would definitely help us out by buying some of the merch, so that this way it'll help fund the show, because we do this without charging you guys anything. We have no promotional advertisements during these episodes, so we don't make a dime off of this.
No.
We do this for the love of doing it, for the fun of it, and for each and every one of you guys out there. But we are not opposed to sponsorship, but it has to be the right sponsors.
All right, listen. Boob Tube Toys out in Englishtown. Mr. Schwartz with your Armored comic book. You guys want to give us a post? Quick plug? Come on through. Well, I'll take yous down. You know I like to enjoy buy 5, get 1 free at Boob Tube Toys for your Funkos.
Yep. Now, one last thing before we wrap everything up. When is the Elimination Chamber in comparison to when we're recording?
March 2nd. So it'll be discussed on the next podcast.
There you go. So we will be discussing a little wrestling content there, where we will be discussing the Elimination Chamber. And I'm caught up on several episodes of WoW, so I do want to say congratulations to the WoW Women's Champion, that being the Classmaster, although I really wish it was somebody else, because they've got a lot of good talent that's down there. So, yeah, and on that note, I want to thank everyone for listening.
If you don't mind, would you mind?
One more.
No.
Go for it.
May I?
You may.
Listen, folks, You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Now, please, leave the premises now. Get off my lawn.
That one was a little harsh. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Drons Lair Podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you. And you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Now get out.